Now's your chance to go one-on-one with me. I'm Rэнdi Kutюr, so watch my videos and catch a clue. You might win a trip for a personal training session with me. In this tape, we want to talk about clinch fighting and establishing dominant positions and exactly what those dominant positions are. And then once you establish a dominant position, the different takedowns and different options that you have as a Greco-Roman wrestler, and my background in Greco-Roman wrestling, there's a lot of different options that you may not have been exposed to from those dominant positions. It's a little bit different than the average clinch tactics of, say, a Thai fighter or a boxer who's basically trying to tie you up so they can knee or punch or stop you from punching him. So it's a little more offensive and a little more aggressive in that you can take your opponent to the ground very easily from this dominant position. And I'm fortunate enough to have Nathan, one of Team Quest's competition guys, here to work with me. And a basic dominant position, after I use my elbow destructions and close that distance from that long range through that range of exchanges to the clinch range, is to establish an inside control. And when I say inside control, it means I'm eliminating lines of defense that my opponent has from keeping me from attacking his hips or his body, which is what I need to do if I want to take him down and control him. I eliminated his elbow and his hand, which are things that he can use to control my head and keep me away from him. Okay. I also am eliminating his head, which is something that he can put between us to keep me from attacking him as well. So by pummeling in and establishing that inside position, that dominant position, that underhook, okay, from this position, now I can begin to work and set my opponent up to take him down or punch him and kick him, elbow him, whatever it is you're trying to do from this position. Okay, notice it's important when I'm going to underhook a guy, I don't want it to be a shallow underhook, although sometimes I get stuck here and I can use this shallow underhook. What I really want to do is I want to isolate this part of my opponent's arm. So I want to come all the way up and I want to grab with my palm that front deltoid muscle. And I want to use that as a handle. Once I establish that underhook to the front deltoid, I pull my elbow down and into me. And effectively I've isolated this part of Nate's arm, and that eliminates some of that torquing that once you get an underhook, some opponents like to try to do. And whizzering and torquing here, now he's taking control of me rather than me having a dominant position and controlling him. So if I use that elbow to my side and control that, isolate this part of Nate's arm, now I can move him around, pull him, and create a situation where I can steer him, maybe steer him to a wall or the fence or the ring ropes, or I can create tension in his body so that he wants to resist and get that arm back, and in that resistance is my technique. Okay, so it's important. Again, another really important thing here is my hips in relation to his hips. I have this underhook and I'm giving him energy, I'm pushing into him, and I'm not controlling this space in front of his hips. He can use that energy against me. He can throw me, he can headlock me from this inside position. So it's important. In Greco, what we call this space here is the danger zone between his feet, where his hips are. As long as I establish that dominant position and I control that danger zone with my hips and my leg, now he can't get his hips through and use his power to throw me or execute any offensive techniques. Okay, so I'm in effect here, chest to chest, my hips, and especially if I'm pushing, my hips inside here. And now I can move them, push them, and control them any way that I want, controlling that danger zone. If I'm pulling, it's a little less important that I control that. I can create more space and pull here. because my energy is going away from him. I'm not giving him that energy that he can use against me. So that's one very important point. If you're pushing, you want to be inside between his feet. Control that danger zone. If I'm pulling, it's a little less important. I can pull and set up other techniques. Okay, so you're going to use a combination of pushing and pulling from this dominant position. Once I've closed that range, established that clinch range, I want to fight to hang on to this dominant position, single underhook. Another good dominant position sometimes is the double underhook. Okay, in this double underhook position, and we're going to cover some takedowns from this double underhook position as well. Two places I want to be. I either want to be right up here behind Nate's back of his neck, high, so that he can't bring his arms down and over and lock. See, if I'm here in the middle, he can lock and take some control here and take away some of my dominance. Or if I'm high, I've got him stretched out and I'm controlling him. Again, I'm controlling that danger zone we talked about here. And now from this position, there's a lot of things that I can do. Another good place to put your hands is low, capturing my opponent's hips. And that, so you either want to be low here where I'm capturing his hips, or high here where I'm capturing his upper body and extending him. I don't want to be right in the middle of his back where he can wrap his arms over and take away some of that control. He could control my hips and throw me then, or twist and throw me down from that middle position. Okay? Takedown technique that I like to use and try and set up from this position. And it's important that you realize, depending on what technique I'm trying to set up, my head position in relation to my opponent's head becomes very important. For some techniques, I might want my head over here on the opposite side of my underhook. For the most part, to be dominant and to be effective, I want my head close to my hand on the same side as my underhook. Okay, again, controlling that danger zone. I can't emphasize that enough. Get careless here, and especially if you push in, you're going to get headlocked. You're going to get thrown, and that's never fun. You want to control that danger zone, head on the same side as your underhook. And now I like to block. You can use the wrist, but generally it's pretty easy for your opponent to roll that wrist out. And if he's got a free hand in a fight, generally you're going to be eating leather. So I like to create that wedge and block on the bicep here above the elbow. I've kind of got counter pressure. I'm pushing away on the bicep on this side. I'm pulling down and in with the underhook on that side. And now I can steer my opponent and move him around and create those manipulations for takedowns and attacks. The first takedown and attack is a simple duck under. Now I have my option. This guy's probably going to be trying to free that arm so that he can punch me with that hand, or at least free that arm so he can re-pummel and establish some position of his own. So when he starts moving that arm around to try and free it, I'm going to use that energy that he's giving me with that arm to duck under. Okay, so he starts moving that arm around, I'm ducking under. I want to pull, I'm going to pull myself through and duck under here. Okay, now I want to drive my head through his body. As I come around the corner, I'm going to attack his hip. Okay, so I'll move him a little bit here. I duck under, and I'm going to come around the corner, driving my head into him here. Now he's going to get his Christmas goose a little early here, but it's important that I'm not picking up his leg, but I'm picking up his hips. Okay, I want to pick up his center, his hips. So again, I duck. I'm going to go elbow deep through and pick up his hips. Here. Again, Level change with the knees, not bending at the waist. Okay, it's important. All those little details make a huge difference in the success of your technique. So ducking here, coming right around the corner, head up and in, elbow deep. I want to capture his hip here. Now from here, I'm just exploding. I'm going to pull with this hand and rotate him to his shoulder and back. So I duck here. And I will put him right on the floor. Now obviously, he's my partner. I don't want to slam him. I don't want to drop him on the point of his shoulder and hurt him. But you can see in a fight situation that you can be pretty devastating from this duck under and body lock position. So again, ducking, hands coming around, elbow deep, pulling and twisting as I lift. And I come out in a nice, dominant, cross-side position once we hit the ground. It's important as I duck, I can keep my head up and into my opponent. So I'm here, he's trying to clear that hand, he's creating that space for my head. Step, elbow deep. Kind of by the numbers and stopping in position to emphasize the different positions, but in real time when you execute this technique it would be all one motion. It's very explosive and dynamic. It would look something like this. Nate's trying to hit me with that hand. Another option from this underhook dominant position for a duck under, instead of ducking the far side, is to duck this near side. Again, I have control over this side of his body. I'm isolating that arm. I can easily raise my elbow and create space for my head on this near side. And then I would finish, once I execute that duck under to the near side, I would finish the same way. Okay. So again, maybe I'm going to pull and create that space. Now I got a level change. Again, I don't want to bend at the waist. I want to bend at the knees. Level change, rotate my head through that hole I created. Come right up, my head again, driving up and into my opponent. I don't want to go around him so much as go through him. Free hand, the underhook hand is going to free and come right up the back. Rather than be on his waist this time like we were for the other duck under, this hand is going to come out up here on the shoulder. Still going to use this to pull and create that rotation, that torque. I'm still going to capture his hip, just like we did before, not his leg. Okay, so I'm capturing that hip. Again, ducking under the near side of the body. Here. Pretty simple but effective technique. Another one of my favorite techniques from this dominant position, this single underhook, is a slide by. And in a real situation against a real resisting opponent, what's going to happen a lot of times is, again, I'm using this dominant position, controlling that danger zone, and creating tension in my opponent. I'm going to jack my underhook up and lean him over. Most people, when you push into them, their tendency is to push back. I'm predicting that by pushing into Nate, he's going to want to straighten up and push back. I'm counting on that, and I'm going to use that little prediction to execute this technique. Now, in this technique, I want to take my head across away from my underhook, because it's hard for me to slide by with my head clear over here. I got to get through his skull, to slide by and achieve the position that I want. So I'll cheat a little and I'll let my head come across to the opposite side of his body. And as I steer him up, I think of this as a big steering wheel. I'm going to steer him one way. Now as I feel him resist and start to steer himself back into a more upright position, I'm going to release that pressure. And see how he kind of overcompensates. I'm creating tension, he's trying to steer himself back up. I'm releasing that pressure. Okay, now I'm going to time my slide by with that little release of pressure. So I'm steering him one way. As I feel that tension build and he doesn't want to go that way, I'm going to change levels. My head's going to slide right past his arm. Okay, where I have my arm in the pit of his elbow, I'm going to replace my ear. Put my ear right where my hand is, right here. So I'm here, release that tension, and there's that squat, that level change, head up, hips in, and I'm attacking. My underhook hand is going to drop right to that far knee. Okay, from this position, I'm going to drive my head through his hips, through his body. I don't want to drive him straight back this way. If I drive him straight back, it's going to be really easy for him to fall to his butt and pull guard, and I don't want him to do that. If I drive laterally through his body, we as humans suck at lateral motion. When I drive laterally through his body, I can straighten this hand and arm out and avoid his legs, hopefully, and keep him from pulling guard. So again, steering him one way, release, level change, attack, and now I'm going to continue to drive through him, straightening out that bottom arm, driving my shoulder into his stomach, and coming out in a cross-side position. Steering him one way, head slides over, release that pressure, release, level change, lateral, through his body, straightening that arm and hand out so he can't pull that leg under and achieve guard. And then I work right up to good cross-side position. Okay. So in real time, it would look something like this. It's a good slide by. The nice thing about that slide by is you can use it when you've got a guy trapped against a wall or a cage or the ropes. So he's got his back against something solid. It's nice to steer him and slide by. Or you can do it right in the center of the ring. It doesn't matter. You can set it up in either place. Another nice, simple technique. And again, I emphasize simple in that if I miss the technique, if I don't get the technique, I'm not in a lot of danger. If I take a shot on somebody and I'm here and I screw the shot up, I'm underneath him. I'm carrying his weight. He can choke me. He can knee me. He can do a lot of things to me there. Where these are lower risk techniques in that if I miss my slide by and I don't get it, I'm really not in any danger. If I miss my duck under and he turns and faces me, I'm really not in any danger. I just missed the technique. I continue to fight and stay in a more neutral position. Low risk. It's really, really important. One thing I like to try to set up from this position, especially if we're in here tight and we're fighting for position, I'm looking for this lead leg. It's a simple foot sweep. And again, low risk is the key here. I'm pulling and circling my opponent. See how he moves his feet. Pull one way, he steps. Pull the other way, he steps. Again, that's something I can predict. That's where the art comes in this. I can predict and manipulate my opponent, make him step where I want him to step, make him move how I want him to move, or react how I want him to react. So I'm using my underhook, and I want him to step with that leg. In order to get him to step with that leg towards me, I need to move away from that leg, circle away. So as I circle away, here comes that leg. He steps to stay and keep me in front of him. As I see that leg move and come up, I'm just going to take my foot, the instep of my foot, and catch him right at the ankle. Okay? Pull, he steps, and there's my foot sweep. Very simple. Again, if I miss the technique, what have I lost? Not a whole lot. Still have good position. The worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to kick him in the leg. Okay, so it's a good low risk attempt. You might get it, you might not. If you get the timing down, again, there's some timing involved in picking up this foot as it comes forward. Okay, pull. There's that foot right there. I'm pulling on that underhook, manipulating him, making him step. Pull. There's that foot. Pull, making him step. I'm looking for that foot as it comes around. Sweep. The idea is to catch that foot before he plants it on the ground again. Obviously, if he's got his weight on it, all I'm going to do is kick him in the leg. So as it moves from back there to up here, I want to catch it. And he goes down. Pretty simple foot sweep. Get that timing. Pulling on that underhook. Okay, so a real simple foot sweep. Another nice technique that I like to use from this dominant position is simply a high single leg. And all I'm going to do is, again, I want to make Nathan step towards me. So I want to circle away from that leg that I want to attack so that he has to step towards me. I'm just going to do a simple level change. I'm going to shrug this shoulder up over my head, almost like it's a shot put. I'm going to shot put that shoulder up. My blocking hand here is going to reach for the inside of Nathan's leg, and I'm going to change levels and squat to this position. What I want to do again is I don't want to pick up his leg. I want to pick up his hips. So I should let my lock slide right up into his groin, right up into his crotch, so that I'm picking up this near hip. So I'm moving him here. Again, heads up, hips are in, good, powerful, athletic position. Locked here. Once I get this locked, it doesn't matter what Nathan does. He can turn his hips and try and face me, okay, and resist. All I'm going to do is lift. My head's going to drive into his chest. My back leg here is going to cut the back of his thigh. And that counter pressure of my leg cutting back here and my head pushing here is going to topple Nathan over backwards. So I'm here. Okay, I lift and shrug him backwards here. This leg coming into the back of his thighs, my ear, my head into his chest. Okay, again, really nice technique when you've got a guy trapped against the wall. I've got him trapped there. It's easy for me to adjust down and capture that near hip, that near single, high single leg. Here. Pop, lift. Take him right to the mat. Again, coming out in a good cross-side position, avoiding that guard or the necessity of passing that guard if I have to. I'm going to make him step, level change, here, lift, okay, drive the head, bring the knee. Now in real time, it would look something like this. Actually, the more your partner or opponent resists, the easier it is to execute that technique. Another nice technique here is an inside trip. Now the inside trip is a little more of a commitment. I mean, if I commit to this technique, it's not as low risk is what I'm trying to say. I end up in this position a lot of times where Nate's got an underhook and I've got an underhook, okay, and I want to set him up to inside trip him. Again, same pretense. I want to trip this leg, so I want to circle away so he steps with that leg. Okay, you see him step. So we're here and we're in the over-under. I don't have to see it with my eyes, I can feel it. I can kind of see it out of my peripheral vision. I know if I move this way and pull on his back, he's going to step with that leg. Okay, again, it's important. My head becomes real important here. As I inside trip, I want to take my head towards my foot. If I don't, if I just step here, he's just going to pick his leg up and step out. I haven't achieved anything. Now if I really commit to this inside trip, boom, and he just steps out, step out. Now I'm in trouble. I've put myself in a position, okay? So your head becomes very important. As I make him step and I commit to that inside trip, I gotta take my head towards my foot. Another thing I like to think about is I'm gonna make a triangle with my thigh, lower leg, and this underhook hand. So as I step, I make that triangle right here. And I'm just sagging my weight through Nate's hip. He can't move this foot to step back and keep his balance. He goes right to his back. Here. Now, a little different here is that we end up in the guard position. So now I've got to concentrate on how I'm going to pass Nate's guard. But again, an effective technique. Circle away, he steps. Take down with an inside trip. Okay. Circle away, he steps. Inside trip. Okay. This again is another nice technique that you can use when you've got a guy trapped against a fence or a solid barrier. It's easy for me to step in here and take that leg out and create that space for him to fall into. The inside trip is real nice. Another technique, again from this dominant position, and we're just going to rattle off techniques because there's so many options. There's so many things that you can do from here, and you got to figure out which ones you like, which ones fit your style and your body type. But another nice technique from this position is a knee block. Okay, and what I'm going to do from the knee block, unlike the last couple that we've covered, where I was manipulating him to step with his near leg, here, I want to make him step with his far leg, the leg that's away from my control point here. So I'm going to circle away from that leg. See how he stepped? He's going to react to your motion. He's going to react to keep you in front of him. So as we're fighting here, I'm just stepping away, making him step with this leg. All I'm going to do, again, I don't want to keep my head over here close to my underhook because I'm attacking this side of his body, a lot like I did on the slide by. I want to let my head float over here, closer to the point where I'm attacking. I'm going to take advantage of my opponent's lack of lateral motion again. All right, make him step, level change, and I want to block him right at the knee. I'm going to run my hand through his chest, and I want to drive him back this way. Again, I want to drive him laterally. He's going to fall easier, he's going to go down and have a lot less options. Plus, I'm going to be able to hopefully avoid his guard if I drive him laterally, okay? So I make him step, drive him laterally. And you'll notice, as we come down, I draw an imaginary line between him and me. I don't want to get tangled up in his legs. I don't want to come down on his knee, okay? So I draw an imaginary line between us. As I knee block and run him over, I'm going to stay on my side of the line, and he's going to stay on his side of the line. I'm running him laterally through that block, and I slide right in to my hip, right into that cross-side position again, here or here. Okay. Now it might take me 3 or 4 or 5 steps to knock him over, to run through him. He's not just going to fall right in place. That's okay. It's explosive. Making him step and then driving through him. Okay. Again, in real time, you're here, you're fighting, you've got your dominant position. You make him step, level change, and drive him over that knee block. Okay, pretty simple. Again, low risk technique. If I miss it, I know right here if I'm going to get it. I know right here if he's going down. So if I've missed it, he steps out, I'm still in no danger. Low risk. Okay. We'll talk about the inside trip and being in this body lock position. Okay, the inside trip is a good option from that body lock position. Another option from the body lock position, where he's got the same thing I have. Okay, he's got an underhook, I've got an underhook. We both got our hands locked, we're both in this position. It's a 50-50 deal. If he knows anything and he executes first, he's going to score. He's going to take me down. He's going to knee me, punch me, whatever the case may be. It's a 50-50 position. Okay, so I don't want to hang out here. I don't want to spend a lot of time in a 50-50 proposition. I want to either change my head and establish a good dominant position where I have control, okay, or get about executing some technique from here. An inside trip. Okay, in this case, what I'm going to do is capture his hips and just body lock him, bear hug him to the mat. What I'm doing is, again, I don't want my lock up here on his back. I need to capture his power, which is his hips. So I'm going to step and suck his hips into my hips. As I do, I'm blocking. This foot's coming around. I'm digging my knee into the back of his knee. Okay, you can see how off balance he is already. I'm basically pushing his hips and upper body over his knee. Okay, but I'm using my legs and hips to do it. So we're here, 50-50 proposition. I'm going to suck his hips in, block that knee, and now as he starts to fall, I'm rotating my back leg around and replacing my initial knee that blocked his leg. I'm going here, here. Again, we come down right in that good cross-side position. So it would look something like this. More about establishing position and executing technique before he has a chance to execute technique from that 50-50 position. Okay, it's real important. Another thing I can do from this body lock position, and one that I kind of like, again, it takes some timing, and again, reading my opponent's hips and feeling where he's at from this over-under position, is just a simple twist or off balance. What I want to do is, I feel his underhook, I'm going to lace my hand over his elbow and under by his tricep. And now I'm going to pull with my underhook here, and I'm going to push on his side with my wrapped or weaved hand. And if I do that, you can see how his shoulder moves towards his ear. Boom. I'm off balancing his upper body. Now I'm going to coordinate that little twist or off balance with a step and my hips. Again, your power comes from your hips. In order to do this, I'm going to have to use my power or my hips to move his body weight around that corner. Now, I don't want to, and a real common thing to do here is to just switch your feet. That's not what I really want to do. That doesn't get my hips or my power into his power. So I start in here with my left foot and my underhook hand forward. When I go, I'm stepping forward, penetrating his danger zone there with my back leg. Okay? So I'm here, I'm weaved, I'm stepping. You see how my hips come up underneath his hips. Here. And now I'm going to twist, basically steering him or rotating him around that 180 degrees. Okay. Here, the other side, same thing. Okay. Pulling here, pushing here, twisting with the hips. Again, some timing and resistance. Okay, the guy's feet will come right off the floor. If you explode and pop with this, he'll twist and rotate right to his back. All right, so stepping. Okay, so we're here, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're fighting in this position. And the same thing I can do from a double underhook position. Okay, again, locking high, Same rules apply. I got to use my hips, my power, if I'm going to twist him from that double underhook position. From here, I'm controlling with my hips, and now I can rotate a long ways this way, pivoting on my toes, a lot faster than he can move his feet and keep his balance. Okay, from here, I step, I've loaded him on my hips, and now I'm going to twist back that way. Okay, so whether you do it from a single underhook, where you're stepping and twisting, or from the double underhook, where you're stepping and twisting, the technique with your hips and the step and the basic technique is basically the same. You can do it from the single underhook dominant position, or from the double underhook dominant position. Okay, here. Same thing is true of the inside trip. In this double underhook position, all I need to do is circle away here. And I can inside trip from that double underhook dominant position. Pretty low risk. The only thing I don't like about it is I come down in his guard. I still have to pass his guard. But it can still be an effective takedown, especially against a guy you're having trouble manipulating. You're having trouble controlling. I get him here, and I don't want to let him go from here. I want to make him fight from here. Steps. Inside trip from the double underhook position. Okay. There's a lot of techniques, a lot of takedowns right there in that little sequence of events. All off of this nice dominant position, or this nice dominant position. So now the next time you achieve clinch range and you close that distance, you know there's a lot more to it if you establish this inside control and you manipulate your opponent. You control the danger zone, you make him move, you make him step one way or the other. You got 7 or 8 different options for takedowns for knocking your opponent down. And that's not even getting into the opportunities you have to strike him from this position. That's a whole nother tape. Now's your chance. Now's your chance to go one-on-one with me. I'm Rэнdi Kutюr. So watch my videos and catch a clue. You might win a trip for a personal training session with me. You take the striking out of these events and you have a grappling competition. And today in this segment I want to talk about grappling takedowns. My name's Nathan here, this is my assistant. We're going to cover some tie-ups, some hand control, and some different setups, and then a few different takedown situations for grappling events. Now, the first thing you're going to realize when you're dealing with a grappling event is that your stance is going to change. I no longer have to worry and protect my head so much and worry about being kicked or punched. What I have to do is protect my hips. They do keep me being taken down. So it's going to cause me to take more of a traditional wrestling stance and move and operate from this position. From this traditional wrestling stance, I'm going to use
couple lines of defense. The first one is my hands. I use my hands to keep Nathan away from me. My elbows, Nathan gets through my hands. And the last one is my head. I want to try to keep my head a little bit lower than my opponent's head. We use several different tie-up situations where, in order to move Nathan and break down those lines of defense so that I can attack his hips and take him down, I've got to use my hands and move my feet to create motion and create those opportunities to penetrate and take Nathan down to the mat. One common tie-up is the double bicep tie-up, grabbing both of Nathan's biceps, and now from here I can steer him and make him step and manipulate him so that I can penetrate and take him down. The bicep tie-ups are very effective. Another common one is the elbow tie-up. I move into my opponent and he wants to put hands on me to keep me away from him, which is the way that I like to approach a lot of takedown situations. He's moving into his comfort zone, so he wants to put hands on me to keep me off of him and keep me away from him. He's giving me those elbows that I can grab. And I don't want to just hang on to him. I want to pull him in so that I have control of him. I use light hands and put him up here. He's still got bicep tie up. And now he can steer me and manipulate me. So when I grab those elbows, I want to make sure that I pull him in and take control of my opponent. Now I can move him around and steer him and create those little opportunities to change levels and penetrate. A couple other common tie-ups is what we call, some people call a Russian tie-up. I like to call it 2-on-1. A lot of times your opponent in a grappling situation will grab a hold of you. And he's giving me, in this instance, a chance for me to take his arm, grab two of my hands on one of his hands here, in a 2-on-1. From this 2-on-1 position again, I can cause him to step, circle, and control, and move him around. I want to make that arm part of my body. Put his elbow in the center line of my body. I want to lock it out, shoulder pressure down on the top of his shoulder so that I can hold him here and move him around. I can put feet, do a lot of different takedowns from in this 2-on-1 position. The harder he tries to get his arm back, the more opportunities I'm going to have to change levels and penetrate. Another nice tie-up from this situation for grappling takedowns is the underhook. And a single underhook, again, have effectively broken down those lines of defense. Nathan's hand and elbow are out of the way now. I've got free access to penetrate his hips right here. My head position becomes very important in this underhook situation. If I give Nathan head position, even though I have a good control point in the underhook, still have to get through his cranium to get to his hips. So I need to make sure that I have good head position. Now I can move him around with that underhook and attack his hips, attack his legs. Okay. So those are four basic tie-up positions there. Bicep ties, elbow ties, 2-on-1, okay, and the underhook. From the biceps and the elbows, maybe it's going to be a combination of the two. It may not be just both biceps or both elbows. Maybe it's going to be a bicep on one side and an elbow on the other side, or vice versa. I can use that to steer him around and again break down those lines of defense. His hands, his elbows, getting past his head so that I can penetrate to his body. A common tactic and drill that we use is the hand fight, what we call hand fighting in wrestling. And when we're both in our stance, we're both moving here, and we're just controlling wrists, moving, working for those tie-ups, see if I can get control of my opponent, making steps to create openings so that I can attack or penetrate. And you can just go around minute rounds or 2-minute rounds back and forth and just hand fight and work on those little manipulations and tie-ups back and forth. Both opponents going live so that it's realistic and you get an idea of what it takes to move your opponent, to control them, very important. So I'm going to put my hands on them, and I need to move my feet. If I put my hands on them and just stand here in front of them, nothing's going to happen. You're not forced to react to me. If I grab a hold of them and I create motion by moving my feet, you've got to step, you've got to move, and that's going to create opportunities for me to penetrate. Okay, those are the basic tie-ups, things that you're going to use to manipulate your opponent and create opportunities to take him down. Once you learn to use your hands and move your feet to create motion and create those opportunities, you need to find some setups. Create little manipulations where you can predict where your opponent's going to go, how he's going to react to certain hand fights in certain positions. One setup that I like to use a lot is casting an elbow. And all I'm looking for in a setup is that split-second opportunity that I can penetrate, get past those lines of defense, his hand, his elbow, and his head, and get to his body, his hips. And casting an elbow, it works real well from the bicep tie because you get into this little dance where I go to a bicep tie and then the opponent will rotate inside and wants to bicep tie himself. And so you get into this mode here where you're both hand fighting for that bicep tie, that inside control. You always want to have nice inside control. Now as I rotate to the bicep and I feel him release, and he starts to rotate his hand around, I'm going to use that opportunity. I know he's going to do that. I can predict that. So if he releases and goes to rotate around, I'm just putting pressure on his elbow and passing it across in front of his body. Notice as I pass that elbow and take advantage of that little opportunity, those lines of defense are out of position so I can penetrate his body. I start my level change for my penetration so that I can feed off of that little setup. So the elbow pass is a pretty effective way to set your opponent up, create that opportunity to penetrate and take him down. Another common setup that I like to use is an arm drag. Okay, and I can set up an arm drag in several different fashions. Just a standard arm drag drill is any time my opponent puts his hand on my body, I want to drag that across. And I'm just patting that hand down, catching it above the elbow, and pulling it across. And there again is that split-second opportunity for me to change level and penetrate to his body. Okay? So just a simple drill to get the hang of the arm drag. It's here, 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 here. And if you start to get more comfortable with that motion of dragging your opponent's arm, you want to start to add the level change and the penetration to that. So put it up, drag it across, and penetrate. Now when you go home next Christmas and your grandma puts her hand on you, you arm drag her, and you throw her down. Works real well. The idea is that you do it enough so that it becomes second nature. Every time someone puts their hand up there, you're anticipating that, you're seeing that, and you're creating that arm drag and that opportunity to penetrate. Okay, we talked a little bit about the 2-on-1 as a good tie-up, a good way to set up that 2-on-1 and use that 2-on-1. Again, it's to force your opponent to call a tie or put his hands on it. As soon as I move into his comfort zone, keeping my lines of defense in position, and he puts those hands on me, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm going to cross, sweep across. I'm going to rotate my shoulder, move my feet, and pull that arm across. That baseball grip on the wrist, elbows to the center line of the body. Now in this position is my setup. Whether I circle one way, I make him step with a single, or I make him circle the other way and put some pressure on him so he steps there. It depends on what technique I'm trying to set up. But being able to, every time he puts his hand up there, pull that 2-on-1 in, and again, eliminating those lines of defense for that split second, establishing some control so I can create that opportunity to penetrate. A real common way, and another setup that we like to use is that underhook. And there's several different ways to get into that underhook position. I can either be aggressive or I'm pounding the head. You know, and you're taking a risk in reaching for your opponent and putting your hands on your opponent. But if you have a goal in mind and you're trying to achieve a good tie-up position, then it's probably going to be all right. So I'm coming to the head. For some reason, your head and arms, obviously, are connected. You put some pressure on that head, create some space under that armpit for that underhook. So I clobber him, and there's my underhook. Okay. Once I establish that good underhook position, that control point, now I can start to move him, again, creating that motion, eliminating those lines of defense for that opportunity to penetrate and take my partner down. Okay. Another common thing that will happen is, again, moving into your opponent so he puts his hands on you. Okay. Again, a little more passive approach. I want to move into him so he puts hands on me, and now I'm just going to bump this out of the way with my crossed hand. As I bump it out of the way, I'm digging for that underhook position. Okay. And again, from here, I'm looking for that setup where I'm making him move his feet and react to me. Those are the basic setups that you're going to use to create opportunities to take your opponent down. I'm going to demonstrate that elbow pass a few times in a more of a live situation, again, like the hand fighting that we did earlier in this segment. Another nice setup is just to simply snap your opponent's head. Basically, I'm just going to club him with a forearm, make him move, make him blink, and give him some pressure on his head. If we're in our stance, I might club him on the head, get him to respond. His head bobs as he recovers, and that's going to create that opportunity for me to penetrate off of that head snap. Pretty simple thing. Just clubbing him in the head, using that forearm. I want to make sure when I reach for my opponent that I'm not reaching with that lead leg, the hand that's guarding that lead leg. It's not going to take him very long to realize that he's pretty close to that leg, and if I'm reaching my hands up here, he'll be able to attack that leg pretty simply. If I'm going to put my hands on my opponent, I'm going to do it with that hand that guards my trail leg, the leg that's furthest away from my opponent. That's important when you're working on a head snap or any other technique or setup where you're reaching and trying to put your hands on your opponent. So I want to keep that guard hand in position. He reaches for that leg that's closest to him. I can send that attack off. I've got my arm, elbow, and hand in between my hip and my body and my opponent. I'm going to mess with him if I'm going to set him up and use my hands. I'm going to do it first with that trail leg hand. Here. Switch my grip or my stance, and I can switch hands. Once I get that hand on him, I've got elbow in position keeping him out. Now I can bring that other hand up and use it as well to create the situation I need for a setup for penetration. And the first and simplest takedown that I want to cover is just a straight double leg. The most common, the first takedown you would teach a little kid if you're teaching him how to wrestle. Again, it involves some basic techniques or basic skills that you need to know for any takedown. The first basic skill is going to be a level stance. Okay? Go from a head-to-head position. I want to bend my knees, keep my head up, lower my hips, and change levels with my hips by bending those knees. Here. Now I'm in line to attack parallel to the mat through my opponent. Common mistake is to not change levels and penetrate at an angle to the mat So at some point back there, as my opponent moves back and starts to counter my takedown, I run into the mat, and that's as far as I continue to penetrate. If I change levels and move in a parallel fashion to the mat, I can go as far as I need to go to run through my opponent and take him down. So it's very important that you get this level change down so you can move your hips parallel to the mat and drive through your opponent. Now it doesn't matter if you use a lot of different setups and a lot of different tie-ups to execute a double A. You got to figure out as you use your hands and move your feet to create those opportunities to take your opponent down, which ones are going to work best for you, for your style, your body type, your speed, your flexibility, your strength. All those things play into what kind of grappler, what kind of wrestler you are. And once you have that level change down, the next thing you need to learn is penetration, how to cover the space between my hips and his hips as I attack his body. And the hard part about that is I want to change levels first, and now from here, I want to cover that distance. Obviously, from outside an arm's length, I'm giving him a lot of time to react, a lot of time to counter my takedown. So I want to make sure that I'm not clear back here outside of an arm's length. I'm going to try and penetrate and cover that distance. The more time I give him to react with his hips and sprawl and stop me from taking him down, the less my chances are that I'm going to finish that takedown. So I at least want to be within an arm's length. I'm going to change levels and then penetrate. What I'm doing is what's called a rock over step. I'm rocking over my heel toe to my knee. Right here. I bring that trail foot up. I have to change sides here. I penetrate, level change, penetrate. That trail foot comes up. I don't want to leave it back there. Don't have a very good base to it. Here I've got a nice foundation. Doesn't matter if Nathan moves away. I'm still here holding my own weight. I'm still here in a good foundation and in position. Penetrate. I want to make sure as I wrap my hands, I'm going to wrap them low on his calves. I don't want to be on his thighs. I don't want to be on his fruit of the loom. I want to be down on his calves. If you're going to bend or control a tree limb, you don't do it in by the trunk where it's strongest. You do it out on the end of the limb where it's easier to control, easier to bend. Same thing is true here when I'm trying to take him down. Okay, so level change, penetration, bring that tail leg up, and now, very important, especially if I'm grappling and I want to avoid Nathan's guard. I don't want to just drive him straight back to his butt. I drive him straight back to his butt, come out right in his guard. And now from his guard, obviously I have to figure out a way to pass. Depending on who you're grappling against, that can be pretty difficult. So, once I level change, penetrate, tail leg comes up. It comes up for another reason. I need to drive off of this foot and turn the corner. Again, I want to take advantage of the fact that humans on two legs don't move very good laterally. Okay? I drive him straight back, I end up in the guard. I drive across his body, driving off this trail foot. I have a pretty good chance of avoiding his guard and taking him down. So from here, again, wrapping to the calves, I'm going to push with this inside foot. I want to put my hips in line to go that direction, across his body. And turn the corner. Okay? So I push with that foot, drive off that outside foot, and now my hips are in line to go across his body. Exaggerate your head. I'm going to use my head to steer him to the mat. It's like an extra appendage, an extra arm, if you will. I'm using that head, looking the way I'm going, and steering him to the mat. Okay? So again, level change, penetration, tail legs up, push with the inside foot, driving across his body, turning the corner. Okay. Now, as I turn that corner, level change, penetration, tail leg comes up, inside knee pivot. I'm going to drive across his body. As I drive across, I'm steering to the mat with my head, this inside arm, And to straighten, to put pressure on that leg. And that's going to allow me to pass this guard and stay out of his leg. In here. Now I can work up his body and achieve a good cross-side position. And that's very important. I've eliminated the need to fiddle around and be caught in his guard, seeing the risk of him submitting me, he's crawling up my back, looking for a triangle or an armbar. So again, as I drive across, I'm planting my shoulder right in the stomach, trying to pin his hips down. I want to make it hard for him to sprint, hard for him to create space to get this bottom leg through and around my waist. So I'm putting all my weight on his body. This arm is across his leg. It's straightening out. And if you can't bring that leg in, and again, shrimp and get it around my waist. Alright? Here. Now I can bring this top leg in and work up. A good cross-side position. Anytime I can take my opponent down and eliminate the need for passing his guard, I'm one step ahead of the game. I'm in a much better position than I am having to pass his guard and worry about his opportunities to be offensive. So again, figure out what setup you're going to use. If it's going to be an elbow, bicep, or what? Make them step, move them. Level change, penetration, pivot, drive. Okay. Nice double leg, turning the corner, driving across my opponent. One thing I like to try and add to that sometimes is what we call in wrestling an ankle weight. Okay. As I take him down, as I take him down here, right here, his legs generally are still against the mat. He's trying to sprint and create space to pull guard. What I notice as he does that is I can weave one arm over and under and tap his foot. And tapping his foot, raise his ankles, and keep pressure on this bottom thigh. Up to here, I can start to work up, isolate this ankle. And then there's a position here if you get lucky enough to catch somebody. Just putting my knee in his stomach, working up. I can go to his toe, crank his ankle, or I can sit back, right, and crank his chin into his calf. Here. Trapping his hip. So, as you take your opponent down in that double leg, look for that ankle weight. A lot of times it's there, something you can pick up pretty easily. Do some double legs here. A little more real time. Kind of give you an idea what double legs look like in real time at real speed. So, the double leg takedown to the ankle weight. Turn that corner, good level change, good penetration. Now, after you've mastered the double leg, rather than attack my opponent's whole body and attacking both legs at the same time, sometimes it's a lot easier to split him in half. What we do is get half man and attack half of his body and then change off to the rest of his body. And what we call a high crotch. And the high crotch is a very nice takedown. A lot of times, you master this takedown, you can whisper it in your partner's ear and tell him you're going to hit a high crotch, and it's still that hard to stop if you do it right. So what I want to do is, again, using the setup, we talked about using your hands, moving your feet. I like to execute my high cross off of an elbow tie, or passing the elbow. From that elbow tie, I want to circle so that I create this half man situation. Instead of being head up, square to his hips and penetrating to a double leg, and shuffling my feet so that I'm half man. I'm going to attack one of his legs or half of his body instead of his whole body. The basic penetration is pretty close to the same. Still need that good level change, and you still need to rotate to that knee and that rock over step. I want to bring that knee down right by his foot, the leg that I'm attacking. Right here. Instead of wrapping and attacking both legs, I'm coming through his legs or in his crotch and wrapping to his calf on one leg. That trail foot still has to come up. Okay, so I'm here, double chain, penetration. I want my head up and my shoulder in here. Okay? As I penetrate, my head is up. I want my head down here. This is in good position. I can't carry much weight here, because he's definitely going to sprawl and give me some resistance. Need to be up, good foundation. My power, my hip, as close to his leg as I can keep it. If he's going to try and take this leg away from me and sprawl, I've got to be able to hang on to it and stay in position here. Again, good foundation, move away. I'm still carrying my own weight. I'm not leaning on him. I'm not out of position. Okay. Here, nice and tight. Good position. Right here. Trail foot is up. Still need that dry foot, because I still need to turn the corner to the high crotch. Now, as I penetrate here, and I secure this leg, I want to turn that corner, grab my nice cauliflower ears into Nathan's ribs, start across his hip, and put all of his weight on that free leg, make him hop. Here. As I drive back up into him, and make him stand on that free leg, now I'm going to change my grip on this leg, here to here. Changing from the high crotch to the double. I'm going to continue to drive across, turning that corner and driving through him. As I reach for that double leg, again, I want to emphasize straightening this leg out so I can avoid that guard. Here. Again, I can look for the ankle lace of the chair, but more importantly is the position. I keep my shoulder in the stomach, keep the hip pinned to the mat, and work my legs up. A good side position. High crotch. Off the elbow tie, half man, double chain, penetration. Here. Driving. Again, swisher, sit it on that inside knee. Now, a lot of times, a good drill from here is I'm just going to have Nathan turn. I've already started in this position right here with my hips in, the position I should be in. And the drill is to work on keeping this position as my opponent moves and adjusts and tries to take this leg away from me. So Nathan starts to turn and try and take that leg away. Pivot, turn, and stay in position so that I can bear his weight and finish that takedown. It's a very crucial point. I've done all the work. I moved him, I broke down his lines of defense, and I penetrated all the way in here. The hard part's done. Now I need to stay in position, drive through, and finish this takedown, score those points, take this guy down. Okay? You don't want to get this far and then allow this guy to take you out of position and take your takedown and your opportunity away from you. This is a very good drill. Get in here, have him spin. Go ahead. As you spin, keep position, and then finish your takedown. Turn that corner, drive across to that double leg. And a high crotch. Again, like I said, it's a great takedown because I'm only attacking half of his power instead of all of his power. I can use a lot of different setups and manipulations to set up that high crotch. I can get some biceps, I can get some elbow pass, and I can even do it from the 401. I can do it from the underhook. I'm moving in, using that underhook, swing under to that high crotch, driving across. Okay, so again, good takedown. There's a lot of different setups to achieve this takedown. What it will look like in real time is sort of like this. That's the high cross takedown. Once you've learned the high cross, or what some people call a head outside single leg, transition now to the other side of the body because these two moves work in concert to go to the low single or the head inside single leg. And again, several different positions that I can execute this technique from with this takedown, several different setups. The easiest and the one I like the best is operating off of that elbow tie. Now, using that elbow tie and a bicep tie on the other side, I can circle away from the leg I want to attack. If I circle towards that leg, it's moving away from me. It's much harder for me to close that distance and get to that leg. I circle away from it. Now it's coming towards me. I plant that back foot to drive and penetrate, level change and penetrate. That leg is coming towards me. I close that distance to that leg a lot quicker. So use your tie-up. Move your feet to create those opportunities to penetrate. Now this penetration, the level change is exactly the same. Still want to bend my knees and get down here with my hips so I can penetrate to that leg. But the penetration step itself is a little bit different. Rather than split his body and attack here like we did for the high cross or the double, and penetrating to the outside, my knee is going to come down right on the outside of his foot. Now I want to be careful. A common mistake is to want to sweep around the corner here. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Even though I'm moving in a circle, I want to make sure when I penetrate, I'll penetrate in a straight line to that leg. And it's very important. I start sweeping around that leg, giving him an opportunity to react and take that leg away from me and put myself out of position. I want to shoot straight through that leg. Circle away from it. Level change, penetrate. As I penetrate, and that knee comes down, I want to bring this hand around the back of his knee. I want to stay below his knee. I'm at his knee, when he sprawls, he can extend me and get me in trouble. Stay below his knee on his calf or lower ankle. Now, the knee is a weak link, a one-dimensional joint. It only moves forwards and backwards like this. I put pressure on it laterally, connected to his hip, keeps him from being able to turn his hip and cover my head, and again, get me in that extended and troubled position. And here, I don't have much power, it's hard for me to finish. So I want to eliminate his ability to drop his hip and bring him down on the top of my head and sprawl. And I do that, I want to wrap my hand staying below his knee, down on his lower ankle. Okay? It's an important key. Again, level change, penetration. Now I'm going to throw this hand around. Imagine I'm punching a punching bag here from the back. And that's going to cause me to pivot from this knee. My head is going to stay inside of the thigh or knee. And I want my head back here. I want to have good shoulder pressure laterally on that knee. Good. Okay. I'm pivoting to this angle. The power is in the front. The power is in the hip. I stay out here. In front is going to sprawl, and I'm going to be in trouble. Okay. If I pivot, well, again, if I pivot, I get this angle, it's much harder for him to put that power on my head and shoulders to get me extended. Okay. Much greater success. Much greater opportunity to finish that single leg and come out on top. Again, elbow tie, bicep tie, and spear, make a step. Okay. Circle away from the leg I want to attack. Level change. Penetration. Here. The angle across the body. Hands out. Below the knee. In this position right here. Now I can apply pressure to that. Force into the mat. Probably not going to go all the way to his stomach. Probably some other things that he'll do that we'll cover. More often than not, as I shoot, he's going to respond by sprawling, trying to take that leg away from me. Okay? And here I penetrate, he sprawls, and he takes that leg away from me. I pivoted, and here, got that hand down by that ankle, not at the knee. If I go to the knee, you can take that foot away and see how the hips come over my head. I stay at the ankle, now his knee won't let him rotate his hips over my head. Alright, he tries to rotate his hips over my head and sprawl, his knee won't go. Won't allow it. Alright? I'm just going to continue to circle towards that ankle. When you come to his knees, he's probably going to, more than likely, what a jiu-jitsu guy will do is circle the other way and bring that leg over the top to try and pull guard. What I want to do as soon as I get here, as soon as I get here, I want to change hands on this foot. If I stay here, he's going to try and spin the other way and take this. The other way. He's going to try and spin the other way and take this leg away from me. There. What some guys will do is this. Spin out. And I want to be aware of the options that my opponent has in every situation. So if he's got that single leg, he changes hands, takes that hand to my foot, that frees up an initial penetration hand. And now if I spin out, I'm actually putting him right in behind me. Which is not where I want to be in that situation. So, important. As I penetrate, as soon as I'm here, change your hands on that ankle. And now I can drive across after both legs and work my way up to the big position. So, if you sprawl and go to both knees. Yeah. And even if I penetrate here, he goes to his knee and he kicks that leg over the top and pull guard. As I change hands on that ankle, I'm looking to pass that leg and pass it. Again, it's a cross side. Worst case scenario, I end up in his guard. Okay, so I have to pass his guard. That's okay. Still taking him to the mat, still taking him down. Score those points in the grappling situation. So you see this single leg takes several different scenarios and several different options for you, but it's a really, really good takedown. Again, level change penetration. Get that angle through his body. High cross is that the two moves work in concert together. As I establish a good tie-up or a good position, I move this leg, and that foot doesn't come forward. It's not there for my single leg. My high cross is right there on the other side. So the two moves, one or the other, is usually always going to be there on one side or the other from the same stance. I change my stance, and my single leg becomes here, and my high cross is over there. Again, I have to adjust to what leg my opponent leads versus which leg that I'd like to lead in a grappling situation, and decide which takedowns are going to work best for me against that opponent. Now, if I combine the two moves, the single leg and the high crotch, I come up with a knee tap, and it's a real effective move, kind of a split move. Looks kind of neat when you touch the guy's knee, you pop out on the other side, and the guy falls on his face. Okay. And again, if you have a good single leg and a good high crotch, this will be a pretty easy technique for you to pick up. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm touching like I'm going to execute a single leg, and I'm only doing this as a setup because I want him to react with his hips and start to sprawl. So as I move him and I touch that single leg and he starts to sprawl, now I'm going to finish with penetration just like I would on a high crotch, and I come out right behind my opponent. Really slick move. Takes some timing to get that timing down. It looks pretty dang fantastic when you hit that technique. So again, from touch to the single, tapping that knee. As he reacts and takes that leg away from me so I can't single legging, and popping my head out that other side and that high crotch penetration. And then from here, I'm simply pivoting around the corner. And I want to take this knee with me as I pivot around the corner. Level change in your penetration, even though in this technique, kind of a combination of two penetrations are pretty much basically the same. I'm starting with that single leg penetration, then I'm rotating to that high crotch penetration. And that combination makes it pretty difficult for the opponent to read what they're going to do. Again, you want to manipulate them, you want to move your feet, touch that knee, come out on the opposite side. Pretty fancy technique, but if you get the timing down real nice, it works a lot. Now you should be a master of takedowns, using your hands, moving your feet, using those tie-ups, and executing that double leg, that high crotch, that single leg, or tapping that knee and popping out the back side. And all of these takedowns are adaptable to the fight scene too, when you add the striking back into the equation. But they're great to learn when you eliminate that striking portion. You don't have to be worried about being punched in the face, and you can concentrate on the takedown technique.